Good afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Intro to State Government Contracting with SBSD, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network in partnership with the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will address them during and at the end of the session. We've also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Kathy Deacon. Kathy serves as the Business Services Manager for Southwest Virginia at the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, the SBSD. In this role, she champions the growth and success of small businesses, entrepreneurs, and innovators by facilitating access to education, resources, and opportunities within Virginia's SWaM, Small Women-Owned, Minority-Owned Procurement Program, and the broader state contracting system. Kathy brings a wealth of experience in economic development, having held leadership positions across the Commonwealth of Virginia, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Kathy is a small business owner herself and understands firsthand the challenges and opportunities of entrepreneurship. Her work is driven by a deep commitment to empowering others to build and sustain successful ventures across the Commonwealth of Virginia and beyond. Please join me in welcoming Kathy Deacon.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I am joined by two of my esteemed colleagues, Angela Barber, who serves as Business Services Manager for Hampton Roads, eastern part of Virginia, and Chris Lay, who serves as the Business Services Manager for Northern Virginia. So once I get started, I'm going to take my camera off. These two ladies are going to do an amazing job. If you've got any questions during the presentation, pop them into the Q&A feature, and they're going to stay back and answer your questions. And if there are any questions that are left over, we'll answer them all together. So why don't we just get started? Give me just a sec. There we go. So first of all, thank you, Sheila, for allowing us once again to partner with you on this Unlocking Opportunities Intro to State Government Contracting. It really is my pleasure to be with you today, and we thank you. Those of you who are small business owners or you have a business idea and you're joining us today, we know how busy the life of an entrepreneur business owner is, and we're delighted that you chose to join us. So, as Sheila said, I work for the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity, where our mission is to provide education, like things like today, assistance, economic opportunity through SWaM program, helping entrepreneurs figure out state government contracting, providing access to capital to generate employment and economic growth, all for small businesses. We do this through primarily four pretty unique teams. First, our access to capital is facilitated through the Virginia Small Business Financing Authority. Business Development Outreach, I proudly get to serve as part of that team, as well as Chris and Angie Barber, my colleagues Ramen Gohar, and Randy Brown. And we really are focused on supporting economic development through providing workshops and training, access and connection to resources, and one-on-one business counseling sessions. We have a certification team, and this is our small but mighty team who works on reviewing and processing and approving all of the small woman-owned and minority-owned certification applications that come through, as well as the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise or DBE certifications that come through that office. And then we've got an amazing sourcing and compliance team that do truly work at the state level, colleges and universities to support strategic outsourcing and SWaM participation. So, there are tons and tons of opportunities for state, local government, college and university contracting in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And really, the very first step is to get registered in EVA. We're going to talk about what that is. It's Virginia's online electronic procurement system. And really, what is it? It is an e-procurement portal utilized by all state agencies, many state-funded colleges and universities, over 770 local governments, and over 13,000 EVA users who go in to find out who's selling, who's buying, and it really is the tool that is used by the Commonwealth for all purchasing activities. This is the portal where bidding opportunities are announced, where suppliers upload their quotes, and where the buyers can place orders for goods and services. So, why does this kind of matter? First of all, in the Commonwealth of Virginia, there are priority purchase awards for businesses for purchases $10,000 and under. A buyer from state agency, colleges and universities, local governments, anybody who uses the EVA procurement system can actually go into this system and take a look at who are micro-certified businesses. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, at the state agency level, there is award priority given to micro businesses for any purchase that they are looking to make for $10,000 and under. And they can make that purchase with a single quote. So you can see there's not even competition on price here. So if you've got a relationship with a buyer, they know you are selling what they buy, they can reach out to you, get a single quote for you, and if the purchase is $10,000 or under, that purchase, the award priority is a micro business. If a micro business isn't available to provide whatever good or service that the buyer is looking to buy, then they'll open it up to a small certified business. And then if that is not, if they don't have a micro or small business, then it's opened up for general review. So purchases $10,001 to $100,000, the award priority at this level is for a small certified business. These are competitively bid, so the buyers are going to be looking at price in this instance, and perhaps a couple of other things. But again, the award priority is small business. They'll also look for a micro business if a small business isn't available, and then it will get opened up to other participants. So we're going over right now, why is the certification and understanding how EVA works, why is this all important and how it all ties together? So purchases, large purchases, so purchases over $100,000, there are two methods that buyers use to procure goods and services. One is an invitation for bid, and this is competitive sealed bidding, where the buyer has determined specific terms and conditions. They've got pretty detailed specifications of what it is that they're looking for. And at the IFB level, those contracts are awarded based on best price. They can also, at the $100,000 level, issue a request for proposal. These are a little bit more complex solicitations. They are competitively negotiated. The vendor in this instance is going to propose the solution. So they say a college says, look, we want someone to come in and figure out how to help us develop some courses. And maybe they're going to outsource that. They're not going to look at their internal staff. So they want to find a business that is going to offer or propose a solution that meets what they're asking for. They will always select 2 or more offers for negotiation, and then the award here is made to the best overall proposal. So not necessarily on price. What is the best deal for the government at this stage? Sorry. Okay. So how do you find out about these requests for quotes, IFBs, RFPs that state agencies, colleges and universities, local governments are posting? Well, the first thing that you need to do is to get registered in EVA. You do not have to be SWaM certified to be registered, a registered supplier in EVA. All you need is your federal employer identification number, your EIN, the Virginia Substitute W-9 form, and there's a link on the EVA supplier registration page that is entitled that Virginia Substitute W-9 form. You can fill it out online, but you must download that form because they need an original signature and then re-upload that back to the EVA system. And then you're also going to want to understand what your commodity codes or your NIGP codes are. And these are just codes that tell buyers what is the good or service that you are going to supply. We're going to talk about NIGP codes and take a look at the NIGP code lookup in just a second. But the thing I like to say here is get creative when you're looking at this. Don't, maybe it is just one code, for the good or service that you supply. But make sure you do a full exploration on the NIGP codes because these are sometimes subjective. What one buyer might identify a code that to them signifies the good or service they're looking for. Another buyer might take a look at that a little bit differently and select another code. So I like to say at this point, when you go in and start doing your NIGP code lookups, really get creative and make sure that you're selecting all of the NIGP codes that are relevant to your business. So this is just a screenshot of the EVA homepage, and EVA can be found at www.eva.virginia.gov, and Virginia is spelled out. And this is where you're going to kind of go play around a little bit. If you want to look at some tools and resources, you sell to Virginia. You're going to want to click on this. They've got plenty of how-to guides, some supplier training that's in here. You can learn about some of the Virginia purchasing rules. And then when you're ready to register, after you've looked at it and you say, yes, this is something I want to do, you're just going to click on here, register now. So we talked a little bit about the NIGP code lookup. There's a link on the NIGP on the EVA homepage under the resource tab. So if you go to the upper right corner, you click on resources and you'll see NIGP code lookup. And if you click on that, you're going to come to what I like to call the first primary code page. So you can see all of the codes, and this is just a very short list of a very long list of primary codes, and all primary codes end in 00. The ones except for the ones that start with a 9, the rest of these really are for goods. But if you sell services, you're going to want to look at the primary codes that start with a 9. And these codes, I can tell you, we're going to drill down a little bit, but once you look at the codes, figure out, like you'll start here at the primary code list, right? and just say you supply air conditioning, heating, and ventilating equipment, you would click on this primary code, and on the next screen I'll show you, it actually clicks on a secondary code list, which drills a little bit further down and gets a little bit more explicit about what it is, about describing what it is you might sell. Again, the buyers, when they are uploading, requests for quotes, IFBs, RFPs, they are going to tie these to whatever primary or secondary codes that you choose. And once you're registered and you've listed all of the primary, secondary codes that apply to your business, you're going to, from Eva, you will get an email letting you know that hey, we've got a new quote, request for quote, or we've got a new IFB, invitation for bid, that is just posted to the Eva account, and you've listed that as your NIGP code. So you're going to get a notification from Eva saying, hey, there's an opportunity available. So we talked about the primary codes. You can see here, these were going into the services code. So this is the code starting with a 9. And just say you offer consulting services. This 91800 is the primary code for consulting services. And if you click on that, it is hyperlinked. It'll bring down a whole other grid of consulting related services that are offered. I can guarantee you that if you offer consulting, and when you go and start playing around on this, you'll be able to tell more directly. There's a very long list of consulting services, and I would probably venture to guess that you're not both offering administrative consulting and anthropology consulting, right? So what you're going to want to do is just scroll through the list. What does make sense? And you'll click on, and write down every single every single code that actually does apply and is relevant to your business. I suggest, particularly in the services, the primary code may not be the code you want to select. You'll probably want to drill down a little bit further. Otherwise, when Eva notifies you that there are bid opportunities available, you're going to get a notification for every single kind of consulting service that's listed under the primary code. So I say always take the time to drill down. So one of the really great things, and we know that even during this training, we're giving you a lot of information. Eva does a really great job, and the Eva platform is run by the Department of General Services. Eva does a really great job of providing 2 workshops. One is Intro to Selling to the Commonwealth, and that's a pretty foundational training. So they'll show you how to get registered. They'll show you some of the major tabs where you can look to see some of the functions of the portal. And then in workshop 2, they do a much deeper dive on how to actually use some of the functions, some of the reports that you can generate to help generate not just opportunity leads, but maybe you're wanting to look at some subcontracting opportunities. So it'll help you identify who's also selling what you sell. So maybe there's an opportunity for you to subcontract if you're not ready to have a prime contract. It's going to help you understand how to uncover who actually is buying what you sell. So this generating leads workshop is really great, but I always recommend, if you're not familiar with the Eva platform, that you take the workshop 1 first. It's going to give you just that foundation and then help you to understand the generating leads aspect of it a little bit further. So again, I said that DGS is the administrator for the Eva portal, and they have a customer care page. You can see there's a tab on their homepage that says Get Help Customer Care. If you click on that tab, you're going to come up with phone numbers, a buyer assistance request form, and depending on whether you can wait a little bit of time or you actually need to call somebody and get a pretty quick response, they are available and they're really great at assisting with anything EVA portal related. They're not going to help you figure out how to submit a bid, right? So they're not going to help you put a bid together. But if you're having trouble with uploading, you're having trouble getting registered, you've forgotten your username or password, they are a great resource to help you with anything EVA portal related. So we kind of did a quick overview of the EVA portal. And again, I want to tie that to when buyers are looking for suppliers who are selling whatever it is they're trying to procure at certain threshold levels and at state agency levels. Again, it's going to anything 10,000 and under, they're going to look to see if there are any micro businesses that sell whatever good or service they're looking to procure, and they'll look at that first. So once you get SWaM certified, that is actually listed in the EVA portal, and buyers can see, oh, there's a micro business that is supplying whatever NIGP code I'm looking to procure a good or service for, or there's a small business. So this is how it ties into the EVA portal. If you have your SWaM certification, that's going to show up in the EVA portal, and buyers will be able to look and see if they can source if there's a source that is supplying the good or service that they sell. So step one, go ahead and get registered in EVA. There's nothing stopping you from doing that before you get SWaM certified. And I would even suggest that there's a benefit to doing that, right? You can get used to playing around in the system. You can figure out who's already buying what you sell, even before your certification comes through. There are some eligibility requirements that are required. We've got two types of certification. One is the SWaM, which is small, woman, and minority owned, and micro is stuck in there too. And then we've got our disadvantaged business enterprise certification, and they're two distinct certifications. The DBE certification is a certification that it's a federal program dropped down from the U.S. Department of Transportation. And the purpose of this certification is to increase the participation of certified DBEs, or disadvantaged business enterprises, in federally funded transportation projects. And these projects typically include heavy construction, such as building, designing roads, bridges, railroads, ports, airports, that kind of thing. And very often, most often, there are, just like there are some SWaM priorities, small business priorities, micro business priorities at the state agency level. And one thing I did forget to mention, and maybe I'll mention it again, but at the state agency level, not college and university level, the SWaM certification and purchases are considered gender and race neutral. So it's really the small and micro certification at state agency purchasing level. For transportation related projects, they may have some requirements for DBE certification. So, and this is handled, there have been some changes to the program that have come down from the federal level. What those changes are listed on the SBSD, and it's sbsd.virginia, spelled out, .gov. You can go and under certification types, you can see DBE certification. Click on that and you'll get an explanation of what the changes to that program are. But for today's purposes, we're going to talk about the SWaM certification. And it's small, woman-owned, minority-owned certification. And again, micro is in there as well. This is a legislative Commonwealth of Virginia small business program. It was created to enhance procurement and contracting opportunities for SWaM businesses participating in state-funded projects. So what we're going to talk about right now are state agency level purchases. Colleges and universities, again, I said it was at state agency level, it's race and gender neutral. So state agencies don't have specific set-asides for woman-owned or minority-owned businesses, but many colleges and universities do, many localities do, but it's just at the state agency purchasing level. It is just small and micro certification consideration. So here are the designations and some of the initial eligibility requirements. To be certified as a small business in Virginia, you can have no more than 250 employees or no more than $10 million in gross receipts averaged over the 3-year period prior to certification. And all of these SWaM designations, the applicant must be U.S. citizen or a legal resident. For a micro business certification, the business can have no more than 25 W-2'd employees and no more than $3 million in average annual revenue over the 3-year period prior to certification application. So what is the difference here? For a small business certification, you could have $50 million in revenue and have 100 W-2'd employees and still be considered a small business under the eligibility requirements that have been legislatively designed. A micro business, you can have no more than 25 employees and no more than $3 million in average. So if you've got 10 employees and $3 million or $4 million in the average annual revenue, then you would qualify for a small business, but not the micro business certification. Women-owned business is at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women. And this is something that hangs people up occasionally. Owned and controlled means that the daily operations, management of the company, the investment in the company, the expertise being provided, and the professional licenses that are held by that company are held by at least, that ownership is at least 51% woman. For a minority owned, it's the same thing, at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more minority business owners. Service disabled veteran. This is not really a separate designation. The service disabled veterans comes through the Veterans Administration. But if you are a service disabled veteran and you own at least 50, and you've been certified as such through the Department of the Veterans Administration, then you can click on this designation. Military family owned, at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more members of the uniformed services, a veteran or a dependent. You can select military family owned, and an employee service organization. This is the only type of nonprofit that can get certified through SBSD. And that is an organization that provides community-based employment services to individuals with disabilities. And that has already been approved by the Commission on Accreditation and Rehabilitation Facilities, or CARF, which is an accredited vendor of the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. So that is organizations like Goodwill, etc. So again, that's the only type of nonprofit organization, and that type of organization must have already been approved by CARF and accredited as an accredited vendor for the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. So, couple of things. Let me just go back here just a second. We say, truly, you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 designations that you can select. And we like to tell folks to select all of the designations that you are eligible for at the time of your certification. Doesn't mean, you can't go back and add a designation, but it's easier to go ahead and select all of them at the same time. So if you're a micro certified business, you've got no more than 25 employees and no more than 3 million, you also qualify as a small business, right? So we say go ahead and select both of those designations at the time of your initial application. So there are also some federal designations that we don't administer, but that are administered by the U.S. Small Business Administration. And those are, I'm not going to go into each of these, but they're your 8A, so that's a small business, federal service disabled veteran-owned business, woman-owned small business, and the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. These are all designations that come down from the U.S. Small Business Administration. You apply for them through there. They approve those designations. And if you already have been approved at the federal SBA level for an 8A federal service disabled veteran owned woman owned small business designation, then there is a place in your application to also check those designations off at the state level. Now, if you check them, so say you have applied through SBA for an 8A business designation, small business designation, but you're in the application process, it hasn't been approved yet, we say don't check it until you get your approval letter, because at the end of the application, you're going to be asked to upload some documents that are based on the way that you've submitted your application, the questions that you've answered in the application process, and we're going to go over that a little bit. But you will be asked to submit your 8A business award letter from the U.S. Small Business Administration. So these are federal designations that if you already have them, we suggest that you go ahead and check those off during your certification process. So what does the application process look like? Well, thankfully, this SWaM certification is completed online through our certification application portal. We don't even accept paper applications. The only time paper gets involved, or that we see pieces of paper for the application process, are if we're helping someone, they don't have the ability to scan and upload them themselves, if we're helping someone with that process. From the time that you have a completed application, that means you've answered every single question, you've filled in all of your information, you've uploaded all the documents, you've hit submit, and the certification, you see that you're pending, the certification team hasn't come back to you with any questions or asking you to upload any additional documents, you can figure that the standard processing time for application approval, review and approval, is 60 business days from the receipt of that completed application. So 60 business days, that's a Monday through Friday. So you can really figure on about 3 months. That varies. Some go a little quicker. Some may take a little bit longer, depending on what kind of questions our certification team has based on the application that gets submitted. But once your application is approved, that approval is good for 5 years. And at the end of that 5-year period, typically about 120 days prior to the expiration, you're going to start getting notifications from the certification team that your certification is getting ready to expire. And we say, go ahead and get started right away as soon as you start receiving those notifications, because the recertification, the 60 business day time frame, applies to that as well. And what we don't ever want to see is that someone's certification approval status expires prior to the time that they've got a new application submitted. So, what are you going to need? And I can tell you that I tell folks all the time, make sure that you're really kind of go through and understand what these supporting documents are, because there are some that are required from every single business that applies for certification. And I tell folks, have those ready, get them ready before you ever start your application. And if you've gone through the list, you've got questions, reach out to one of the SBSD business services managers and ask them. Just say, look, okay, I remember Kathy telling me what documented proof of owner's contributions are, which I'm going to tell you in a minute. But I don't remember what that is. Make sure you reach out so that when you've kind of completed the data entry part, is what I like to call it. And that data entry part, a lot of the data is going to come from some of these supporting documents. So I just say it's a good idea to get these documents we're getting ready to talk about gathered up prior to starting your application. The first is proof of identification. If you've got a driver's license, it can be a driver's license. If you don't have a driver's license, a state ID with your picture on it, proof of U.S. citizenship or permanent residency, so a green card. So that can be birth certificate, documented proof of owner's contribution to the business. And this hangs some people up. If you're a fairly new business, it's as easy as pulling down that receipt or pulling it out of your email, the receipt that you got from the SCC when you registered your business at the State Corporation Commission, saying that you paid $100 for, that designation from SCC. That can be a proof of owner's contribution to the business. Opening a bank account with a deposit, so a deposit receipt can be a proof of owner's contribution. Say you bought a computer to use as you're starting up your business. Your receipt for your computer can be a proof of owner's contribution. If your business is older than 5 years, um, you might not have your SCC registration receipt, but you will probably have other receipts that show that you are contributing as an owner to establishment of your business. Then we want to see the resume of owners and all officers of the business. So if, say, I own a business and, I've got 55% ownership, but my sister has, the other 45% ownership. We've got to submit a resume of each of those owners and think about it just like you would submit a resume if you're applying for a job, right? They want to see both the jobs that you've worked, when you worked them, what your responsibilities were. So kind of a chronological outline, as all resumes are, of your experience. And again, that is for all owners and officers of a company. We're also going to want to see copies of professional licenses and permits. So many businesses require, so if you require certain professional licenses or permits, if you are a contractor, construction contractor, you're going to have a contracting license, either class A, B, or C. If you're an engineer, you're going to have those kinds of licenses that permit you to do that work in the state of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we also say, you know what? We hope that you've also registered your business at the local level. So this is a great place to also upload local business licenses and permits. We're going to want to have your business tax return for the current year and the previous 2 years. New businesses, if I just started a business a month ago, I can apply for SWaM certification, but I don't yet have tax returns. When you fill out your information, you're going to enter 0 because you didn't have any revenue, right, in the last 3 years. So you're going to enter zeros, and you won't be required to upload your tax returns for those years. So At this level, you're going to upload your full tax return for the current year. And the first page of or a page of your tax return for the previous 2 years, and that depends on how you file your taxes, what you're going to be asked to upload. If you have W-2 employees, that means you're paying an employee, you're taking federal, state taxes, unemployment taxes out, and you file a federal Form 941, I'm sorry, which is the employer's quarterly federal tax return. We're also going to ask for you to upload the most recent 4 quarters of that 941. Now, you say you started a year ago, you didn't have employees until the second half of a year, so you would probably only have the 941 for 2 quarters of that year. What we're going to tell you is simply write out a statement. I didn't have employees for first quarter, upload that. Didn't have employees for second quarter, upload that. But maybe for the third quarter, that's where you started having W-2 employees, where you had filed a quarterly federal tax return, then you'd simply upload that 941 for that quarter. A lot of folks get hung up here too. They get to the end and they're like, well, I'm being asked for 941. I'm the only person working in this business, but I'm being asked for a 941. I take a draw, or however else you get paid from the business, or maybe you're not getting paid. We say if you are a single owner, you don't pay anyone, and you utilize the W-2, so you're withholding taxes, you're going to enter 0, even if you are working in that business, right? So no W-2 employees, be sure to enter 0. And that also applies if you have 1099 contracting folks that work for you. You're going to enter 0 for number of employees, because you report those folks who are doing work under your business name in a 1099, and you report federally in a different way. So, what we just went over are the documents that are going to be required from every single person who submits an application. In addition to those documents, there are some SWaM, some supporting documents, that are going to be requested based on the type of business entity that you are set up as. So if you're a corporation, you know what these documents are. It's a certificate of incorporation, articles of incorporation and any amendments. Whoops, sorry about that. Corporate bylaws and any amendments. And these are established when you set your corporation up. Minutes from the most recent stockholder meeting or board of directors meeting. If I'm a single owner, but I've set my entity up as a corporation, you're still going to have to upload minutes, even if the meeting is just with yourself, right? You're making decisions based on the business. You're going to want to capture the minutes from the decision-making process that you've gone through. Not all corporations are stock corporations. There are non-stock corporations. If you issue stocks under the way that you've set your corporation up, you're also going to need to include both sides of your stock certificates, and then the stock ledger that goes along with that, showing a history of when stock was sold, how many shares, it's the value of the stock shares, etc. If you're a limited liability company, you're going to also be asked to submit your certificate of organization, your articles of organization and any amendments, and your operating agreement. Certificate of organization, articles of organization, both of those are, you're going to have to put those together, and you'll receive those when you register at the SEC level. Operating agreement, if you were a single member LLC, and it's just you, you're not going to have an operating agreement, because the operating agreement is designed to kind of delineate who is doing what in the company, who has decision-making roles, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you are single member, you don't have an operating agreement because you're doing it all. You're the chief cook and bottle washer. Then you're simply going to upload a statement saying, I'm a single member LLC and I do not operate my business under an operating agreement. And you just upload that statement when you come to the required documents section. If you're a sole proprietor, we want to see the current business license. And if you are, say, I'm a sole proprietor and I've registered my business under my social security number, which we don't recommend to anybody, but I'm doing business as something other than Kathy Deacon. I'm Kathy Deacon doing business as co-creative consulting. So I would have had to register that assumed fictitious name at the SEC level. I would have gotten a certificate of assumed fictitious name from the SEC to give me permission to use that name when I'm doing business instead of using my own name. And then you would need to upload that if you're a sole proprietor. Franchises. If you are an operator of a franchise, you have a franchise agreement. Could be 3 or 4 pages. It could be 100 pages. We want to see that whole franchise agreement, and our certification team really does review everything in documents that are required and are uploaded. And same with a partnership. If you operate under a partnership agreement, the certification team is going to want that uploaded so that they can review how the partnership is set up and how decisions are being made. I know that's a lot. You've probably got questions. If you do, just a reminder, throw them in the Q&A. And I know Chris and Angela have probably already answered a bunch of them for you, and just continue. We're going to go on now and just kind of move into what the certification portal looks like, how you get in. So this is a screenshot of the front page under certification. So if you log into www.sbsd.virginia, spelled out, .gov, you're going to come to this first page, and you'll see the second tab over is the certification tab. If you've pulled all of your documents together, you think you're ready to go to start your application, then you can go here to log in or apply. This is a little bit of a change. If you have already started your application, submitted your application, and you want to log back in, you'll use credentials that you've already established. But if you're brand new, you're still going to click this button and you're going to click apply. Whoop, let me go back. And you can see if you're already registered in the system, you're just going to enter your email and whatever password you created. I agree to terms and conditions, and you're going to hit sign in. If you're a new user, so you're just starting a SWaM application, you're going to click new user, register here. And once you click that button, it's going to ask you to create an account. You're going to type in your first name, your last name, your email, and whatever account password you want to create. And there are some suggestions or requirements on the parameters that those passwords must meet. And then once you've entered that, you're going to click submit. After you've clicked submit, you're going to get an email saying, hey, great, an account has been created for you. And you're going to verify through a link your email address. And then you're going to come should be directed back to then enter the email that you registered with and your password. I agree to terms, and you're going to click sign in. Like hopefully, I know, I don't know about you guys. I sometimes get annoyed with 2, 3, 4, 5-factor authentication systems, but I will tell you, because there's so much personal information, I think this really is, it's a little bit of a pain, but you're going to get a one-time password sent to your email, the email that you registered with. You're going to enter that and hit submit. And then you're going to be asked to set up multi-factor authentication. And you can do that however you choose, through an authenticator app. Whoops, sorry about that, you guys. Through a passkey app that you use, through text message or phone call. And whatever way that you choose to get that multi-factor authentication, when you re-sign in, it's going to either send you a text message or a phone call, etc., with a new password. So once you've done all of that, you are ready to create your new application. And so you've signed in, you're all ready to go. You're going to just it'll bring you to this page, and you're going to click on link new application. You're going to see when you start an application, you're going to get a tracking ID. I'd go ahead and write that down, because if you're approved, that's going to be the SWaM number that stays with you. And then you're going to be requested to enter information into several different tabs on the application. The first is general information, where you're going to list your legal business name. If you are operating under a trade name, so that doing business as, you would enter that in here. And remember, at the end, if you've registered a doing business as, you're a sole proprietor, you've registered doing business as, you're going to have to upload that documentation from SEC. I'm not going to go through each of these tabs, but you're going to be asked for contact information, your designations and your business type, ownership details, your tax information, etc., etc. And you've got to enter in, you'll see on these pages, there's a little red asterisk. You have to enter information in any of the sections where an asterisk is listed before it's going to allow you to move on to the next section. Okay, so perfect world. We've gotten all of our information submitted. We haven't gotten stopped or hung up anywhere. We're going to get to a page that says, okay, next, we've done all that. Now here is where you're going to start uploading your documents, okay? We've come across a lot of times where people try to PDF all of their documents at one time. You're going to be required to upload each of the individual documents individually. So you're going to want to keep your proof of identity, U.S. citizenship, resumes, professional licenses, proof of contributions, etc., all in a separate file. And I think it's easier. We recommend that folks kind of identify those files exactly how they're requested here. And then you're just going to take the time and upload each of the documents that they are requesting. Once you've done that, once you've uploaded all of the documents, you can hit next. And guess what? Then you're going to hit submit and you're good. You can always go back and check your certification application status through the quick link drop-down menu, certification application status. You can see whether you've been assigned a certification officer, whether it's pending review, whether you've got additional requested documents, by going through and just signing back in as you did in the beginning. So I want to just go back because this feels important. There are some advantages to SWaM certification. And I like to say this a couple of times. Getting SWaM certified does not, by any means, guarantee that you are going to be awarded a contract at the state level, at colleges and universities, at localities who use the EVA system. But what it does, it puts you in that priority of awards lane. So again, at the state agency level, for a purchase under $10,000, right? They're going to look for a micro business. Buyers at the state agency level are going to look for a micro business that supplies the good or service that they sell first. Then they're going to look for a small business and then open it up. At the $10,001 to $100,000, they're going to look to see if there's a small business, a business that's certified as small, who can supply what they sell first. And then, so what that means is you could get an award based on lowest price, quick quotes, IFBs. There are the colleges and universities, state agencies, many localities also put together SWaM utilization plans at the beginning of every year. And remember, I told you at the very beginning, we have a sourcing and compliance team for those folks who are required either, by legislation to put together SWaM utilization plans. Our sourcing and compliance team works with them to see if they're meeting their goals, if not, how they might assist them. And again, it's also a great way. There are many prime contractors who, they're not small businesses, but they use the system to, they may have some small business utilization goals that they're working towards, and they'll use the EVA system to see if they can uncover small, micro, woman-owned, minority-owned businesses. So again, SWaM certification provides the opportunity, I would say, an increased opportunity to do business with the state of Virginia, public colleges and universities, and many local governments. It does not guarantee you a contract. EVA, we went over, is the tool that state agency buyers, college and university buyers, and locality buyers utilize to do procurement, contracting, and to get recognized or maybe get noticed through the EVA system, you've got to be registered in EVA. You've got to be registered to bid on the contract opportunities. And, we talked about the NIGP codes. We like to say, once you've gone through and really done some research on the NIGP codes, you're going to want to include the same NIGP codes in your SWaM and your EVA profile. And again, you can have multiple codes, not just one. You do not have to be SWaM certified to register in EVA. So if you want some additional help with the SWaM certification process, we don't think, but it's what we do every day. We don't think it's necessarily hard, but it's a lot of documentation to pull together. It's a lot of information to sit through on a webinar like this, where you might not quite understand what's required. You might get to the point of uploading a document and have a question about what you should, and we say reach out to us. Don't just randomly upload documents if you're not really sure about what it is you're uploading. It's because then our certification team is going to have to take the time. You're going to be entered into a queue, take the time to review, see that you don't have the right documents, send you an email back saying we need these additional documents. So we say reach out to a business development outreach services manager in your area and just ask for some help. We are happy to help you. We help folks every single day. So again, just to recap, Angela Barber, my esteemed colleague who's on the call answering questions today, serves Hampton Roads Eastern Shore. Randy Brown serves Richmond, Central Virginia. Ramen Gohar serves Shenandoah Valley, Blue Ridge. Chris Lay is Northern Virginia, and I am Kathy Deacon, and I serve in the Southwest portion of Virginia. And there are some additional contacts if you're interested in VSBFA financing. These are Southwest Virginia contacts, but we're happy to provide you with contacts for your region. The lending manager for Southwest Virginia is Linda Tackett. Calvin Thweet handles the DBE certification questions, etc. And again, I am the business services manager for Southwest Virginia, and it is truly my pleasure to have been with you today. Let me turn my camera back on. I know it's a lot of information. Yeah, so there we
That's
are.
fabulous. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kathy. There was one last question. Chris or Kathy, I'm not sure if Angela's still with us.
Yep.
Saved it for Kathy.
Yep.
You saved it for Kathy? All right. Do you want me to read it out loud, Kathy?
I can see it. Before you wrap up, can you speak real briefly to the overall recommended sequence of registrations for businesses seeking to do business on a federal and state level, particularly for special designations, SBA versus SAM, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So here's what I would say. Your first stop is to make sure that you're registered with SEC. So can I assume that you are talking about after you've registered your business, you've gotten all of that accomplished? Alfonso? So I'm
Hopefully
going
he's
to
still here.
assume that that's not the case. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get yourself registered with the SEC. So you've looked up and made sure your business name is available. You're going to want to get an EIN number from the federal level. That's your tax ID number. And then I would say, this is my own personal opinion as someone who worked in DC for a long, long time at the federal level. State government contracting is much easier to break into, and you can always add federal designations to a state small business certification. So I would just say, just get started, with your small business certification if that's what you're seeking. Again, you don't have to be small business certified to register in EVA. So go ahead. If you've already registered at SEC, I think that's your first stop. Once you've done that, get registered in EVA. Make sure that you're registered at your local level and that you're meeting all of your local business registration requirements. So that means reaching out to your local economic development office and making sure you've got that done. And then, Alfonso, we have a really great document called Starting a Business in Virginia that I am happy to forward to you, or I can forward it to you, Sheila, and you can send it out.
That would be great.
Yeah,
Yes.
happy to do that. Hope that was helpful.
And I'm going to point out too that all contacts will be provided for the SBSD in the follow-up email as well. So people can reach out directly to you all because I'm sure there's lots more questions. So I think that's it. We are a little bit over time, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Unless one of you lovely ladies would like to say some last words of wisdom to everyone.
I would just say, just make sure you reach out to us. Our contact information is there. There's no question that's a stupid question. We want to make sure that you guys are informed. And when you make the decision to move forward with doing business with the Commonwealth, that you know that we are here for you. The biggest thing is our services are completely free, all day, every day. So just make sure that you're utilizing us as that resource. So thank you, Sheila, for having us as well.
Great.
Sheila, thank you for the partnership. We
Yeah, of
appreciate
course.
you, and we appreciate all of you small business owners and entrepreneurs that took time out of what we know are busy days to be a part of this and find out more about SWaM certification.
Thank you all. We appreciate the SBSD, and having these quarterly webinars is really helpful to everyone. So thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone who did join us today and remind you, you're going to receive an email that's going to have a link both to the recording, to the slides, and the other information that Kathy promised. So Kathy, I'll let you go ahead and get that over to me, and I'll add that to the email. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBD resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.